Welcome to Season 3 of Episode 17 of Whole Lot of Wolves. We're your host. I'm Joshua Buckley.
I'm Paul LePage.
And he's out sick, but we always like to say hello to our good friend Alex, producer Alex in New York. So, Alex, hope you get to feeling better. But joining us tonight for the first time this season, one of our favorites, Mr. Justin Buznedo from Tennessee Wolves. How's it going, Justin?
Personally, doing all right. We were talking about Wolves here. We'll see how that goes. But it's good to see you guys. So thanks for having me on.
So I know we tried to see if we were able to get you some kind of connection to get tickets to the Wolves-Brentford game. That had to be frustrating being so close yet so far. Not like it was a good game anyways, but...
We got a point, right? Something out of that. I appreciate the help. I was cracking up when I listened and then saw that. So I appreciated the help. That's as I was told multiple times through multiple channels, that ticket is a very tough get due to the size of the away allotment and then everybody. And I was asking for 3 for the family, and I kind of got laughed at a lot. So a couple singles popped up right before, but yeah, to be like 15, 20 minutes away and not be able to go, it's a little tough. But that'll make it more special when I actually get to go to Molineux one day. So that's the goal.
Now, you could have just snuck and sat in the home side, right?
I very heavily debated it for a minute. There were a couple on StubHub that popped up, and they were asking a lot, and I think there was trouble finding 3. Yeah, it was kind of surprising, but yeah, we debated that for a minute to try and find the home side and just go incognito a little bit. So
how old's your kiddo again?
He's 4.
4? Yeah, I may have told the wife. Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, there's 2 of us going, and I'll give you an idea who's not.
Yeah, I know. It'd have been fine. We got to do we did the Broncos London game the next day, so we still got one good sporting event in, so it was fine.
Okay, well,
yeah,
that's not bad. Not bad. All righty, well, let's talk about Saturday's game. Another frustrating one, a 2-0 loss to Arsenal. Actually played decently in the first half. Kind of got the hopes a little bit high, and then it came crashing down to earth again. And Paul, just overall very frustrating again.
Frustrating for different reasons compared to previous weeks. I think it helped with the shift to a back 5. Now, whether that was Julen's instructions, I'd be interested to find out whether he's identified something early doors that makes him switch to that on a more permanent basis come Boxing Day onwards. That's going to be an interesting development. But it seemed that they were still showing confidence, but it at least made them a little bit more solid, and it seemed like the players had some more comfort with their particular roles. I think there was some positives. I saw a little back and forth online about Guedes' performance, and I thought it actually showed some promise, and especially as a front 2. I think if he had the right forward player to play alongside, then you could see him thrive in that type of role. I thought Semedo did pretty well to bounce back and keep their left-hand side in check for the most part. Boubacar didn't look out of place. But when you're 8 minutes into a game like that, and it took a while to see the replay, coincidentally, no fault of the broadcasters, obviously, not to show it or not to show it in slow motion. But when you see the 8th minute, that tackle on Guedes in the box, that just screams penalty, that wasn't even looked at over here. It wasn't even done in real slow motion. Didn't get the lines out for any offsides or anything like that. It just beggars belief that you're on the wrong side of those types of decisions, because that shifts the whole complex of the game. Again, they go a player down early to penalty. Against 10 men, it's totally different. You saw what happened to us versus Brighton, how that can shift the game in its entirety when you lose a man. So to have that go against us, it just smacks of stupidity for the whole thing, that you can't even rely on it when it's there. But obviously they're the better team over the course of the 90 minutes, obviously, and their first goal was expertly worked, and then the second you'll put down to Lembiska's naivety coming on for his EPL debut. You just clear the ball when you're in that situation. You don't try and be too tricky. So it would have been great to go into the break on more of a high, but I suppose it just draws a line under this whole cluster of a first third of the season, and we move on from there.
Yeah, it's really interesting about the VAR because I was seeing it a lot on Twitter. Like, how is that not called? And I was like, what did I miss? Because I mean, I was watching the game and I didn't really know exactly the moment they were talking about that was that bad. And then once I don't understand, Justin, why the replays out here didn't show that as much.
I don't either. I mean, most broadcasts you get that in multiple times, right? If it's even remotely close, they'll show it. It was very, very odd because I know, I was going around with Twitter today to see like the actual slow mo from behind the goal, so it was even like a front angle, not even a side. I guess it just showed how much more egregious it was. But to me, I agree with you guys though, where I kept seeing stuff that of like, how bad was that? How was that not called? From all over the place. It wasn't like it was a Wolves specific group that was doing that, and oh no, it's us again that gets hosed by VAR. It was pretty unanimous in that, and it was kind of weird to me that, to your point, it wasn't shown, and then we weren't the only ones that thought that. I don't know. It just added to the frustration of the day, and changed to Paul's point, like the complexity of the game that early on, which I felt we were the hope that kills you, man. Because I really like it was actually kind of enjoyable to watch that first 45, right? But then you got a sense, and I know we were messaging about it, like they're like Arsenal's got a breakthrough coming, and something's got to break. So you just can't play in 25-75 possession for 90 plus minutes. It's just going to break at a point, and 8-9 minutes in, it did. To again, like to Paul's point, it was well done. Like they earned that, but also we just finally broke down, and that was the tough part to see because you knew it was coming.
Justin, what do you think about the formation? I think it's interesting. Paul brought up that could have been Lopetegui's doing,
and I didn't think about it much until they said something on the broadcast about it, speculating, and they were obviously showing him in the box watching, and he's I'm sure taking mental notes, and he was having side conversations and stuff. So, I don't know. I'm kind of like, it's kind of curious if that's what they did. It's got to be an interesting time in that back room, right? Because like with him coming in, the staff that's there, who has a say on anything, and giving them leeway to kind of finish this out until he officially takes over. But I don't know. I wonder if he came in with some notes and did it. Maybe the fact to the point where to your point, they had some energy, they had some movement, and had some life. Maybe that was part of it, or maybe just because he was there watching. You want to perform well in front of the new teacher or the new boss, right? So maybe it plays into that too. But it was interesting the way they did. But I thought there was kind of energy that came out of it, regardless of what it was.
Paul, do you find it interesting if Lopetegui is thinking about a back five? That here we spent the last almost year and a half talking about, we need to transition to the back four. We need to go to the back four. And then we actually do it. And now a new manager could come in and go, hey, we should go back to the back five.
I still think he's got to play with the pieces or the cards that he's dealt. So depending on January, what happens there, I think that's going to be a big indicator of how we set up, because it may be a case that he's got to grind out results. And how have we gone about grinding out results in the past, regardless of the coach? It's been with that type of formation. And it was even the West Ham game and his last one that Large changed it back to it as well. So obviously he recognised that something needed to happen. So it will be an interesting move if it does. But I just think what Saturday shows is that it needs to be, you take into account that obviously we haven't got Cody for the remainder of the season, probably haven't got him anymore. So there's a distinct difference in playing three centre-backs or playing two and a sweeper. So how is that going to fare? And obviously Saturday was distinctly three centre-backs. Kilman's got that range of passing to his game. I don't think he's got the necessarily the ability to look up and pick a pass to the extent of Cody's got, but it's not like he's just that player that is there as a stopper at the back. He's got a little bit more to his game than that. So judging those two setups as a five at the back, it would be a little different.
Paul, you mentioned Boubacar Traore, and this last week was really good for him. He looked good against Arsenal, and of course, he scored the game winner earlier in the week in the Carabao Cup to move Wolves into the quarterfinals, where they have quite a favorable matchup against Gillingham. Is that right, Gillingham?
Gillingham, yeah.
Not Gillingham, which I totally would have said.
Me too. Same. Yep. Yeah.
But we're almost now getting to the point where we can say Boubacar Traore, the best Wolves signing over the summer, Paul?
It's a strong argument that he's come into a side. You got to understand he's coming to a side that's poorly performing as well. So for him to stand out, is that the cream rising to the top of a sour jar of milk, or has he got that talent about him? I'm in the camp that we've got a player in there, and he's only going to get better. I think he's got a presence about him. I think he's a hassle for the opposition. And as the games have gone on, he seems to have shown us a little bit each time that he's got something different in his locker as well, like the goal against Leeds that no one had ever thought that of coming. It was a great finish. So if that starts to continue to go on the trajectory that it's going, then all of a sudden you have got a player on your hands, and you're certainly looking at his value increasing dramatically.
Justin, as a fellow Adama stan, does it bug you that the announcers keep saying Traore and Traore? Just go Adama and Boubacar. Why is this so hard? Instead, it's Traore. No, it's Boubacar and Adama.
We went so much time without a Traore in the lineup that maybe I'm just happy to hear the name when it shows up, regardless of what it is. And if Boubacar keeps playing, you see him getting, I don't know if it's confidence or whatever it is, more and more involved. Just to your point, Paul, is like coming to the side. Like I feel like I've seen that more in the games when I've been watching as well. Like he's getting more confident, more active, and he's kind of starting to be everywhere a little bit and pop in. So Josh, to your question, as long as the Traore performing on the pitch, I don't care, man. Whatever it takes to get results at this point, I'm good with either one of them. Still, Adama's my favorite though, regardless. So I mean, he and I go way back like that. So
it would be obviously we're talking very much in worst case scenarios, but there's part of me that could distinctly see a midfield two of Boubacar and Nunes. So yeah. that's based on Neves going, hopefully for a lot of money if it's this summer. But I certainly wouldn't be adverse to those two as a central midfield pairing.
Yeah, especially if they are going to go with five in the back, would kind of make sense. What did you guys think of Neves' reaction to Lopetegui in the social media videos, Justin?
Like the two of them talking in the room, like that type of thing. It was interesting. I don't know. I felt like it was very Michael Scott through the blinds in the office on one of the videos, like peering through at him. That's all I could think of when I was watching that. But I don't know. It's I don't know. I guess I'm saying I'll say nothing. It was a very interesting dynamic between the two. Like they seemed obviously mutual. There's a mutual respect there, but I don't know if it was friendly. I don't know if it was, and maybe it's just the Spanish, like that type of thing, and like maybe it's just their the kind of their nationality, the way they interact and stuff. But it was just a very interesting, like I don't know, it's an interesting dynamic. I had a odd feeling watching, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Neither great nor bad. I don't know. So what do you guys think?
What do you think? Do you think there's a relationship there still?
I think so, just based on the history that I have and him giving him his debut and everything. It seems to me that we're going back to one of those coaches, and I think it's it's no real surprise that he's distinctly more Nuno than he was Bruno in terms of that dynamic with the players. So I think he will be that type of coach that will be more player first and trying to bring the best out of them. But at the same time, I get the distinct impression that you won't get many chances with him. He's going to have his not necessarily his favourites, but if you're not schooled and geared in a particular way of playing for him, I think you're going to be out on the sidelines looking in.
I think my favorite part of the video, though, was him asking Matthias how his shoulder was and then hitting it numerous times. How's that shoulder? No, stop. Don't do that.
He was all set to start against Arsenal till that happened, and then that knocked his fitness level back down again, so he had to come off of the bench.
How do we feel about calling him J-Lo? Is that okay?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I saw one of the Nathan or whatever, someone got called him J-Lo on there, and I was like, all right, I like that. So we got Nuno, Bruno, and J-Lo. I mean,
you just got to get that O in there somehow.
Yeah, it's just got to work in there somehow. Yeah.
Well, the World Cup break is mercifully here, and I say mercifully here because 15 games into the season, we are dead last in the table, and we're starting to lose some ground now. Everton and West Ham are at 14 points, both in 16th and 17th. Justin, is Lopetegui going to save us here?
That's a big question coming out. I think so. The way I've looked at it, right, it's being chased by the bear, right? You don't have to be the fastest, just don't be the slowest. We just have to be like the fourth, like least slowest, and we get through, and that's what it is. And I think it's the new manager bounce you talk about. Hopefully that gets us a boost after a break. Some guys have a chance to reset, and I think the fact he's got 6 weeks to really think it through, see the players. It's not coming in on a Thursday and having a match on a Saturday or the following week, right? So he's got time to strategize, especially with the schedule that'll come and look at those teams and watch film. It's just kind of an interesting mid-season break that he's got. And I think with that, on top of kind of that energy, I think we'll do it. It's going to be a struggle. And to Paul's point, we're going to have to grind out game. Like, we're going to have to try and just go for a point, back up, and get a lead, and we're going to park the bus or whatever it is. But yes, I think we're going to be in the 15, 16 range, I think. Yeah.
Paul, we talked about this last week that, hopefully, potentially January will be an active window. I thought it was interesting, again, Steve Davis throwing some people under the bus going, Lopetegui's got to come in. And he said, good quality players, but the consistency isn't there. Who do you think in particular he's talking about?
I think consistency, you can point to the whole of the forward line in the issue that we've got all season has been the lack of goals. And again, it's not necessarily down to a central striker. If you were playing that number 9 and 2 players either side of him, both of those positions have to be contributing probably 5 to 10 goals each between them this season. And who've we got? Podence on 3, is it, maybe? And Wang's got 1. That's not good enough. So I think consistency's always been a big part of Podence's game. On his day, he could be a world beater and probably should be, and not really playing for the Wolves, because he could be that type of quality player that could be playing with a really good team if he had that consistency week in, week out. Same goes to Wang. Is he, again, personally, I don't think he's of that standard to be a starter in the EPL, and that's probably been the case right from the off. But to have someone of his calibre on the bench that can come off and do some damage when called upon, that's the type of consistency I think you're looking for. Traore's a never-ending debate around it, and then we haven't had a central striker now for how many games, even with Costa coming in and then getting suspended. So I think that that's what it boils down to, is the consistency's got to come from an attacking sense.
So, Paul, you said you saw today in the Telegraph that John Percy was pointing out there will be funds in January, um, potentially for two strikers, which is interesting because Lopetegui said at his press conference when announced, they asked if there's going to be money to spend in January, and he said, "I hope so," which Justin and I got to laugh at. How much money do you think is available, Paul?
Oh, good question. I think
And
we'll
it's
be.
and it's a two-parter here. Are we going to have to sell some guys to get
Hmm.
said money?
I'll start with that first. I say I don't think so,
Hmm.
and I would suggest that we're in the scope of what Newcastle faced last season, and it may not be the case that we need the the influx of players that they did, but we definitely need two, maybe three, and maybe a couple of Chiquinho type signings as well that are under the radar onto the bench and maybe get a run out that way. So I think if you're suggesting two or three starters of a standard that can come into an EPL first 11, I think you're probably in the realm of about 50 to 60 million that you got to have in order to do that. Then the others on top, maybe 10, 15 more if you bulking the squad out.
Man, that's crazy number. You think that's right? 50 to 60 million, Justin, or do you think it's going to be below that?
I think that's probably what it needs to be, to Paul's point. I mean, if you're bringing in a couple strikers that are going to immediately get an impact, right? I mean, what was it? A little over 100 is what we spent in the break before. So we'd be 150 in and and climbing out of 20th, trying to. Yikes. But yeah, I'm less confident it'll actually be that much, but I think that's probably what it would take. And I guess I'm just using history to gauge of how we've spent and what we spent previously. I don't know.
It's
I'm less
the
confident it would be that.
it's the whole issue of having to put that money in just to stave off relegation and the threat that it
Yeah,
goes away if you're not playing with the big boys. So
that's what I was thinking too. Right, you're
speculate to
almost an
accumulate.
investment. Yeah, yeah, just to stay up.
Boy, if they spent that money and still got relegated, there would be quite the fire sale. We'd be like the Lille of of the well, not even the EPL then, of English football. Uh,
Wolverhampton.
yeah, Paul. If they do get rid of any players, what do you think the top two guys are that they'd try and sell off this January?
You're looking at where we have got some depth. So potentially one of the fullbacks, one of the more aging ones, again potentially, but I'm still struggling with the likes of Semedo and Johnny that you're not really going to get a ton of interest or value from them at their age. You could get a real left field one that Nuri goes. That we've had Bueno come in that's genuine competition who's got the jersey at present. Could they cash in on Nuri? So that's one to think about. Midfield, I don't really see the depth at the moment that they can afford to lose anyone in the centre of the park. Obviously, given an aging Moutinho, Neves is always 5 bookings away from missing a game. Boubacar looks to be exactly the same in terms of a walk-in booking. So you have to factor all of that in as well. Uh, Again, if there's arrivals coming into the forward position, then that potentially spells a departure for one of the current attackers. Whether that Leeds interest still exists in Wang, that could be one that gets resurrected.
That's interesting about Wang. What do you think, Justin? Who would be your top two guys that you think would go?
I don't think Aitner is a bad call. I'd agree on that, especially he's younger. There may be something there. I guess he's Wang as well. I mean, just he's a physical presence that somebody could use if there's been interest before. I'd forgotten the Leeds interest on that before. I'd space that. I could see both of those. I don't know yet. I mean, again, I agree. You have to think of where we've got any depth on it. If there was some crazy sale for like Nunez that came or for Neves came in, I don't know. It'd be interesting if somebody made a run at him at their break and we got a chunk of change for him to pay for other guys. To your point earlier, so that would not surprise me if something like that happened.
So keep in mind with Aiton Ari, we only own 50% of his rights. So Wolves would have to sell him for $20 million, 20 million pounds, just to recoup their original interest. So that makes it a little interesting there. They can buy out that other 50% for 10 million, which I guess if you're going to get something in the range of 24, but if you're looking at that, it's like, well, is it worth going to all that trouble for an extra 4 million pounds?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That's a good call.
Yeah. Paul, chances of Neves getting sold off during the January window.
Like the $1 million man says, everybody's got a price, but again, I think that price has to be an exorbitant amount in order for him to even consider it, knowing that those are the types of players that you're going to have to rely upon to roll the sleeves and really dig in for a relegation battle. I'm confident that what he's shown to date, he's going to be exactly the type of player that will do it, and he won't go missing, and he'll be one of the standouts. So I think it would have to be a crazy amount for them to even consider it.
Same for you, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that happens is because that's what you're using to pay for somebody else to come in. That's that you're getting an amount that's so much that it's going to go to two guys and cover. But I think it'd be crazy to do for what this team's been through and for people to rely on in the room. I don't know. I hope not. But
is it crazy enough for Jeff Shee to loan him to Barcelona without an option?
Oh, Jesus.
Par for the course.
Yeah.
Scott Sellers would have to hire armed security if that happened. Oh, my goodness. So looking ahead, guys, it's setting up pretty nicely, having made it to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, because now Lopetegui's first game in charge is going to be on Tuesday, December 20th against Gillingham. That sets up pretty nicely, especially as well with not as many of the guys going to the World Cup in Guedes and Semedo and stuff. Paul, we were kind of lamenting the World Cup coming mid-season, but this probably sets up about as good as it possibly could for Wolves, right?
Yeah, I think so. What is it? The finals on that preceding Sunday, and that game's on the Tuesday. So even if you had a Portugal get to the final, then they're still not going to be a million miles away from at least coming back and being in contention for that Boxing Day game. So I think again, just that how the stars have aligned with Lopetegui's appointment, the World Cup, having a break around it, warm weather training camp by all accounts, good option for rest and recuperation and some team bonding. You come back and you've got that game, which is effectively like a friendly, but one that's obviously competitive with a path into the quarterfinal of a major cup. So that's got its benefits for sure. And then straight away on Boxing Day, it's part two of the season, ready to go.
Assuming everybody is healthy, what formation and who starts, Justin, in that Boxing Day match?
Just checking. So we play Everton. I think we're at Everton.
Yeah, Everton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Cody cannot play in that game. Is that correct, Paul?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because he's loaned. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
I know it's one of those real weird rules that us Americans are just learning.
Yeah, interesting. It's tough. I mean, this comes down to the question: do you have influence over the match over the weekend? Right? So we do 5. I mean, I guess I'll say because that's what we did, and again, we need to grind stuff out. I think we go 5 in the back. God, I don't even know who starts. I mean, do we run a fairly similar lineup out there? I don't know. I don't have a great answer. I don't know if I can get into the details. I got to think about it a little bit more to that. But I think the one thing I'll say is I think we would go. I'll guess and say we go 5 in the back to start in that match, just to go that way. But because we won't have anything from a striker perspective still at that point since it's December.
So you think that as well, Paul, just kind of going conservative early, start thinking about 1 point at a time, or, start getting aggressive early on?
Yeah, I'd speculate that 5 at the back on Saturday was Lopetegui's doing, and he's going to keep that, I think, to start grinding those results out. And probably more so away from home, in that you can soak up that pressure and play the likes of Traore as a more central forward to try and get them on the break a little more. It may change based on who comes in when the transfer window opens, potentially. But I think he'll have addressed the squad by then and seen where the weaknesses are. And these weeks upcoming are going to be quite telling in terms of what he's seeing, who he rates, and what he's able to field. It could be a case that he's able to solidify a back four that we haven't seen, and it could be a case of confidence of Kilman and Collins that needs repairing, and does this do it? And maybe that's a tweak in other positions that we're looking for more midfield solidity and protection in front of those two centre backs. There does seem often a lot of talk about how he looks to get his attacks forming through the width of the fullback. So is that an avenue that he looks to impart straight away? That's tricky to do as a back four who's bottom of the league. So I could see the 5 sticking around.
Paul, who are the top 3 players that have the most pressure on them once league play starts back up through the end of January?
I think one of the centre backs for sure, in that he'll look to bring someone in who's got that experience, someone of a Neves calibre of player that will roll the sleeves up and leave it all out there. I'm sure he's going to have his generals and lieutenants that have played from in the back that he's going to be looking to bring in. So centre back would be one for me, possibly a full back as well. But I think that's a key area for me. If there was 2 players that could come in and make a difference to that team straight away, it would be a centre back and a centre forward.
Who do you think, Justin, is on the hot seat?
I like Paul's thinking. I think there's an impact there to that core and those positions, and just what I feel like goals that we've given up, other things that when the teams have found weak spots or hurt us, that type of stuff. And so I think the pressure is probably on them already. And then with new eyes coming in, what they can do, I'd probably agree with Paul and say that those same type of positions are probably what's gonna people who'd be on the hot seat. To your point.
Okay. No individual names. You're not. You guys are being the Steve Davis. Well, we need stuff. Not gonna name names.
We can't name a name when we haven't really got a forward, so we ain't got a striker. So Mr. Anonymous or
allow
Costa,
it,
maybe. And then if I was picking 2 out the centre backs at the moment, I'd probably go for Kilman being the of the hottest of the hot seat, but it could be either of them really.
Mm-hmm. How about Podence? You think Podence is on a little bit of the hot seat as he back heels to nobody in particular?
I wondered about him. Even I don't know if there'd be a market for him in selling, but that type of thing too. I just don't know. I don't know enough about J-Lo's style and the way he manages. I'm just gonna keep calling him that. If Podence fits in there, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just watching him get shoved around for a couple seasons. I don't know if he's going to come in and be a fan of that. He hustles, he works hard, but yeah, there's Maybe it's because there's nobody in there to compliment him with it. I don't know. It's a little tough.
After all this time, I still don't know Pudence's best position. So if you don't know after this time, then that tells me something anyway. And it can't be a sweeping change just to accommodate him. So,
I mean, I definitely think he fills the best actor role on the team, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I can see Lopetegui getting very upset with him if Podence goes down like a sniper took him out again in a key moment of a game. Like, I could see that getting on J-Lo's shit list real quick. One more looking back at the Carabao Cup here. Do you think we might actually have a chance to win this thing based on how some of these matchups are planning out?
It should be renamed, this competition. It should be renamed into the team versus Man City in the final, because that's what happens every year. And it's just a case of who plays who to knock each other out until the point where you play City in the final. So it's Liverpool or Man City in the next round. So one of those isn't going through. Newcastle, Bournemouth, I think it is. So another EPL team goes there. Man United have got more of the favourable draw as well, so they're still in it, and obviously can't be written out. So it offers a path, and it's if that path is free of a direct rival till you get into the semis or the final, and then on the final, who you're coming up against, and can you catch a lucky break?
Paul, as a lifelong Wolves fan, would it be a very Wolves thing to do for them to make a run to like the semifinal or final here and still be in the bottom three on the table?
It wouldn't actually, because we're either shit or we're shit, and we're never good and shit at the same time, really. There's been a few occasions where we were in the doldrums of like what's now the Championship, and we'd have a crazy cup run, and we made a semi-final in '98 of the FA Cup when we were a no-mark team in the Championship. What it is now, doing nothing. So there's the odd rare occasion, but yeah, usually it's doom and gloom.
Good to know.
I do think it would still be incredible if we were playing in European competition next year while also playing in the Championship. Don't want that to happen, but that would be, like you said, it feels kind of Wolves-ish.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, my experience is far more limited. I'm just wondering if that's a thing.
There are some European games in the Championship when you get to travel to Wales to play Cardiff and Swansea, though, so it still happens.
So, Justin, putting you on the hot seat, what position do Wolves finish the year at now?
Oh, boy. 15.
15? Mm-hmm. That was about what you said last week too, but Paul, right?
Yeah, I see us around that. I'm not full of confidence that we're going to miraculously turn it around, but especially that we are rooted to the bottom. But I do have a confidence in Lopetegui, what he's saying, his presence and demeanour seems to me that he's got something about it. So I think with a savvy couple of acquisitions and getting the tune out the players at his disposal, I think we'll be okay. We may have some excitement in those games, and we could get into kind of middle of April and end up being okay. And I'll still go back to that Newcastle example of last year. I could see it turning out not as well as they ended up doing, but I think our performances will make it that it's not we're not taking it to the last game of the season or anything like that.
Yeah, I would prefer not to have to rely on results from the last match of the season to figure out if we're up or not. I've never had to experience that, nor do I want to, because that sounds like really just miserable all around. All right, Paul, we have some no stupid questions this week.
The no stupid questions came thick and fast. So, first was Brian Donnelly on Twitter, and he asks if you could sim this season 1,000 times, how many of them would result in the same level of crappiness?
So that's good. Does that include like starting the season with everybody healthy, like Raul and Big Sassy and stuff like that? Because if it does, I would say, man, out of 1,000, 10 times, 15 times, 10 times.
That it goes this far south.
Yeah.
Cause out of 1,000 sims, there's no way Sassy blows out a knee in the first 45,000 times, right? So if you're all things being even, to your point, I think that's a crucial point here. Yeah, there's no way. I don't disagree. That was there's so much hype and so much opportunity for him to come in and do a thing, and then to lose him. Yeah. No is my answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paul? How many?
I think if we're talking about the Wolves and our history, I think it's kind of up there in the 900 times ish of repeating exactly what's happened. But you do look back at some of those moments, like the injuries, and not just Kalajnic. You got Neto to consider as well, and obviously Raul, and then like it swings and roundabouts, because you could say for all the sitters that Neto missed, or what was it, Gibbs White against Fulham. You've got the penalty save of Sarr. So for everyone he saves, they go in. So it probably evens itself out. I think we'd probably be back where we started.
That's the confident Paul that I was going to
say, yeah.
So switching themes, Brian also asks, is there any ridiculous bets on the table should the US beat England in the World Cup? You're the betting man, Josh. What have you got?
Ooh, we need to think of something here, Paul. It is very, very interesting. I don't know. Man, why haven't I thought of this sooner? Paul, what are you willing to put at stake in that England-US game?
A Hawaiian pizza.
Hawaiian pizza. That confident, eh?
I think so.
Justin, our U.S. boys are going to get it done, aren't they?
Oh, we'll see, man.
In that game, and then they're going to lose to Iran.
I was going to say, so we get something out of Wales, and then we take England, and then we drop out. We don't move on.
I'm fully convinced that's what's going to happen. Is U.S. is going to draw Wales, beat England, and then lose to Iran.
Lose on a goal differential, something weird like that. And yeah, that sounds right.
Yep.
So on that World Cup theme, Todd DeWitt on Twitter, he asks, how many pairs of shoes has Greg Berhalter brought with him to Qatar?
Ooh, that's good. I mean, I gotta think he's brought one, assuming they make it to the final, right? So he probably has a new one for each match there. So how many would that be? 5, 8?
5. Is it 8? 3?
I think it's 8.
4,
okay.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see. He's probably got 2 or 3 training shoes, different training shoes. So that's 11. He's gonna have the ones for like walking around town. I'd say that's another 2 more. I'm gonna say 15 shoes.
What about sandals for the Qatari sand? Do they count? No.
He's not a sandals guy.
That's not. Yeah,
those aren't cool enough for him.
He's gonna be wearing those very vibrant kicks for sure. Yeah. Have you seen a white guy that is that obsessed with flashy shoes as he
Jason
is?
Sudeikis' collection is pretty legendary, apparently, of Nikes.
Nice.
Yeah. But otherwise, those two.
I wish Berhalter was as good a manager as Ted Lasso.
15 might be on the under, man. I don't know. I'm going to go.
Really?
I mean, yeah. He may change it to half at some game. I don't know. He's probably got an extra pair in there. if they're not performing.
Oh, that's a good point. If
Yeah.
he's
Nike's
if
just
like
direct shipping them anyway, so he's probably got a lucky pair or two he brings, but Nike's probably just direct shipping him new ones every match.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to contact somebody in the American Outlaws and like have them keep count while they're over there. Somebody's got to know this.
yeah, I guess for all the training and stuff, right? Because they'll obviously focus in on 45 times each match, and they'll talk about
Yeah.
issues, I'm sure. So, but the times he's not in the middle of a match managing,
And I'm sure if he gets like one tiny little grass stain on it, that's it. Can't
they're
wear it
gone.
again.
More World Cup related questions this time. It's from Chris Wood in the Wolves USA group on Facebook. And he asks, how early is too early for a World Cup match day point?
Oh, it's never too early.
Never. No.
But I think the earliest it gets is 7 Central Time, I think. So
Yeah,
that's manageable, isn't it?
I think so.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Well, not in Qatar because you can't drink, so...
You have a zone. You have a designated zone.
Yeah, that the cameras can't show.
Yeah.
So Budweiser are pissed.
You have the rarity of a convergence of holiday timing and the World Cup, so I think there's no such thing as too early.
Yeah. Drew Gentry next on Twitter. He asks who's going to keep their job longer, Jeff Shee or the current Watford manager?
Oh, that dude is like freaking Teflon.
Yeah, it's Shee all the way. If he's not gone by now, man, like,
I've generally got no idea who the current Watford manager is anymore, so I'll just go for Jeff Shee by default. And our last one is from Andrew Barlow on Twitter, and he asks whether there is any more verses of Do They Know It's Christmas, the Wolverhampton Wanderers version that was debuted on Twitter by myself after the game on Saturday. So there's a story to this. I'm not sure whether it's that entertaining, but I can sing the version too if you want me to.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. So
sing it.
Get in the Christmas spirit. The bells are jingling. Bob Geldof's looking really
Santa
scruffy.
Lodge is too busy making strikers out of thin air. So
that's right. Santa Lodge is there. There's a few other singers, so we go. Duh, 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 duh. Well, they may bestow in Wolverhampton this Christmas time. The greatest thing they'll get this year is 3 points against Everton, where no goals are ever scored, where the fans watch really bored. Do they know it's Christmas time at Wolves? Do 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 do. Just for you, Andrew. Thanks for that.
We need to hear from anybody if they were listening at work to that. That's incredible. The video's great too. I wish you could see it of Paul getting his arms in it.
Shame for the listeners that they didn't get to see the video of that, because that was pretty great. There was a lot of enthusiasm in that, just so you guys know. Like it wasn't halved at all. That was full on. So
yep,
you missed a special performance.
Potence gives it 2 thumbs up.
Great.
That might be is the new movie a musical? Is it a Christmas musical?
Which movie?
The new movie for the season. Since
oh yeah, that puts a spin on it, doesn't it? The heartbreak leading up to Christmas, and then something magical happens, and fairy godmother Lopetegui arrives.
Yeah, that would be the end. He shows up and on Boxing Day gets 3 points against Everton. I'm liking it.
Take that.
Alrighty, so we're about to wrap it up here. Justin, why don't you go ahead and let people know how they can get in touch with you and Tennessee Wolves?
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Email's best, tennwolves@gmail.com. Just send me a note and happy to connect. It's been fortunate to meet some of our folks at actually other games and other things, so it's been really cool around here by happenstance. So look forward to meeting more folks, and go ahead and email over. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
And that's us for the first third of the season. We'll be back on the eve of that Gillingham game once England has won the World Cup to bring you up to speed in terms of the dawn of the... Okay, that's not going to happen, is it?
You can't even say it with a straight face.
There's a laugh in there, yeah.
Even though I don't believe it and I'm saying it, I put it in for shits and giggles because I firmly think Gareth Southgate's a wanker, so I don't know even why I said it. But. So we're going to be we'll be back, bring you up to speed with the Lopetegui era, how it's progressed, and preview the busy festive period before all of that kicks off. So in the meantime, have yourselves a happy Thanksgiving out there. Keep the faith, in Julen we trust. As he said, out of darkness cometh light, and up the mighty Wolverhampton Wanderers.
And why don't you sing us out, Paul?
Do they know it's Christmas time in Wolves?
Whole Lotta Wolves is self-funded, so if you're interested in sponsorship opportunities as a way to reach a niche audience, email hello@wholelottawolves.com for our sponsor packages. Just want to make a contribution as a listener who enjoys the show? Then head to buymeacoffee.com/WLWpod. That's buymeacoffee.com/WLWpod. We greatly appreciate any contribution. Up the Wolves.